Today, we're going to be putting together a multi-purpose home server with multiple virtual machines and containers using this used Lenovo workstation. I'm going to walk through the entire process step by step of installing Proxmox, TrueNAS Scale for network attached storage, Portainer so that I can run Docker containers such as Wireguard, Jellyfin for streaming my personal media collection, and even a Windows install for remote gaming. And I only make a bunch of dumb mistakes along the way, so stick around. Before getting started, I'd like to take just a second to thank the sponsor of today's video, NordPass. If you're watching this video, I imagine you spend a fair amount of time on the internet and have quite a few different accounts. And if you're not using a password manager, you might be in a bit of trouble. Fortunately, there's NordPass, an easy-to-use password manager created by the same cybersecurity experts that built NordVPN. NordPass lets you store all of your passwords in one place, so you never have to worry about forgetting them, and also generates complex passwords to keep your account safe. I don't have any intention of fear-mongering, but in today's climate, cyber attacks, and more specifically data breaches, are a significant threat. If you use the same or similar passwords across your social media, e-commerce, and financial accounts, you could be in serious trouble if any one of those companies mishandles your precious data. By having random and complex passwords across all your accounts, you're much less likely to get hacked, and NordPass does all of that hard work for you. You can use NordPass on up to 6 devices, including on your mobile device, desktop, web browser, and more. And one cool feature I personally appreciate is the ability to import passwords from a CSV file, which made getting up and running with NordPass literally only take a few minutes. There are a lot of other features purely focused on security, from their data breach scanner to their advanced encryption algorithm and zero-knowledge architecture. Right now, you can get an exclusive NordPass deal plus 4 additional months for free by going to nordpass.com/hardwarehaven, or you can just use the code hardwarehaven at checkout. Step up your online security and get signed up with NordPass today. Now, I want to be clear about what this video is. I would consider myself more of a hobbyist when it comes to self-hosting, networking, and things of that nature, so it's very possible that I make a few small mistakes in this video. While this is a tutorial, I would describe this video as more of a, hey, look what I did. This is because I filmed the entire process of me building and setting up this server, so I forgot a few things along the way. While this might not be the most clear and concise tutorial, I think it still has some value, as you'll essentially be able to see the entire process I went through to set up and troubleshoot this server. Also, this will be a 2, possibly 3-part series. In this video, I'll get the hardware set up, install Proxmox, and create 2 virtual machines, one with TrueNAS Scale and the other with Debian. On the latter VM, I'm going to install Portainer, which should make it really easy to run and manage Docker containers. Once we have Portainer set up, I'm going to spin up a Wireguard server so that I can connect remotely to this server or any other devices and services on my home network. In the second part of this series, I'll be installing a Windows virtual machine for remote gaming using Parsec, and also a Jellyfin server for streaming movies, TV shows, and more. After that, who knows? Let me know if you have anything you'd like to see running on this server in the comments below. With that all out of the way, let's talk about the hardware. I bought this Lenovo P310 workstation a while back for right around $200, including fees, taxes, and shipping. It came with a 4-core 8-thread Skylake Xeon E3 1275V5, 16GB of DDR3 memory, and an NVIDIA Quadro K1200, which, as I mentioned in the original video, I would probably sell to bring our total price between $120 and $150. This system also came with a 400-watt power supply, but that unfortunately died shortly after I started working on the system. And despite a valiant effort, I didn't manage to save it. So once again, I'm going to be using my EVGA 650-watt gold power supply. In previous videos, I installed a 240GB SSD for a boot drive, and that's exactly what we'll be using for this build as well. The system is pretty solid for the money, but to make our server more interesting, I'm going to make quite a few upgrades. Most of these were either purchased on eBay or from Amazon warehouse deals. First, I added 16 more gigabytes of RAM to bring the system total to 32. Then I dropped in a 2.5 gigabit Ethernet card. This will give our server, and more specifically TrueNAS, more than double the bandwidth of a standard gigabit connection when connected to a 2.5 gigabit Ethernet switch, like this one here that Asus Store was kind enough to send over, along with one of their multi-gigabit USB adapters. With a multi-gigabit switch and adapters like these, we can connect our server with other devices like my desktop PC, a laptop, or even my Drive Store 4 NAS, which I currently use for local backups. Also, just a quick note that I'll have links for most of this stuff in the description if you're interested, and also want to help support the Hardware Haven channel. Next, I installed this LSI 9240-8i IT Mode SAS HBA, which I'm going to pass through later to the TrueNAS VM so that we can directly connect a few SSDs. To connect to the SATA SSDs, I'm going to use a SAS to SATA breakout cable that I picked up used on Amazon. The last thing to go in a PCIe slot is the same GTX 1650 Super we used when turning this system into a gaming PC. This will be passed through to a Windows VM for light gaming, as well as video transcoding. For storage, we'll still be using the 240GB SSD for the boot drive, but we're going to add these 4 crucial 1TB SSDs to the system for our TrueNAS install. I only own 2 of these, so the other 2 are loaners, which is why the models are slightly different. To help these fit into the system, we'll be using this MB024SP-B that ICDoc sent over to fit the 4 2.5-inch SSDs into one of the 5.25-inch bays. This guy is simple and straight to the point, with a trayless, doorless design, and 4 SATA ports plus a single power connection on the back. I installed this into the bottom 5.25-inch drive bay, and removed the optical drive to preserve some more space for cable management. This is definitely not the system you should try to replicate for yourself, and there is definitely some overspending in some areas. I put this system together because I felt like it would let me really play around with a lot of different software and services. Although a bit tight, everything fit just fine, and I don't think we'll run into many issues on the hardware side, although GPU temps might be a tiny issue. The 1650 Super shouldn't run too hot though, so I'm not really worried. There's a lot to cover in this video, so I'm just going to hop straight into installing Proxmox. Okay, so at this point I've plugged in my Ventoy drive, but the HBA we have for our SSDs has a pretty long BIOS boot sequence. It takes like 5 minutes or so. Now I could remove the firmware off of this, but since I don't see myself rebooting this a ton of times, I don't really feel like it's worth the effort to go through that process. So we'll just sit here and wait a few minutes. Obviously I'll skip that for the video's sake, but we'll wait a few minutes until this boots up, and then we'll be able to enter the BIOS for our motherboard. Okay, now that that is done, we can go ahead and hit enter here, and then F1 to go into the BIOS. And most things should already be set up from when I kind of tested this, but we can go ahead and make sure that we do in fact have 32 gigabytes of RAM. And then all of this should be good. Under video setup, normally this would be set as auto. And for later on when we get into messing around with the GPU, I found out that you actually had to select this as PEG. I actually originally thought of selecting this as the integrated graphics, so that in my head I was thinking that the graphics card would be left available at that point for PCIe pass-through, but you actually have to select the PCIe graphics. Otherwise, it will just sort of be deactivated and you can't use it for even PCIe pass-through. So we'll make sure that the graphics card is selected as our video device. And then everything else, I believe, should be, there's a few things maybe you could do in here if you wanted to. Under CPU setup, we for sure have to make sure that virtualization is enabled and VTD is enabled. And I think everything else is pretty good. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and hit save changes and exit, even though we didn't change anything. And then unfortunately have to skip through this 3 to 4 minute boot up again. So I'll meet you back when we get into Ventoy. Okay, and we're back, and here instead I'm going to hit F12 so we can temporarily make sure we select our Ventoy drive. I should be able to do UEFI, it should be fine. Okay, and then I'm just going to go down to our Proxmox VE ISO, and here we're going to hit install, and then agree. This should all be fairly straightforward, but I'm going to walk through it anyways. Okay, we're going to go down to our drive here, and here we can actually see our 4 1TB SSDs, which is pretty cool, but we're going to make sure and select this 240 gig SSD that I have in there as our boot drive. And under options, we could install this as ZFS or XFS. I'm going to keep it as ext4. That's just fine, and we'll use the entire hard drive. Hit next. Countries, United States, and then this would be, go to Chicago, which is my time zone, keyboard layout. Next, password, I'm going to put a super secure password here, and then email. All right, then next. Okay, now here is where we're going to select our management interface, and we're going to hit this EN01, which is our gigabit Ethernet, which is what should be active currently. Under hostname, I'm going to call this, let's do p310prox.local. It's kind of ugly looking, but whatever. And then we got a DHCP address here because we have it connected to my home network. But instead, I'm actually going to give this a static IP. I just know that this is available, so 192.168.1.31. Subnet's good, gateway's good. We'll hit next. And this all looks correct, so we'll leave this automatically reboot after successful installation checked and hit install. And then we'll come back in a few minutes once this boots back up. All right, so we've booted back up again, and yeah, there we go. We booted into Proxmox. There we go. So I'll just hit enter. This would automatically happen. And realistically, we should be done now on this physical computer. We should be able to do everything now through the Proxmox UI. So I'm just going to double check that everything boots up fine. And then we will unplug this and switch over to our desktop and use, yep, there we go. We can see it says 192.168.1.31, and we don't need this anymore. So give me just a minute and I'll switch over to my desktop. Okay, so I don't have our Proxmox server plugged into my capture card anymore. So now I have my camera plugged into my capture card. So this is new. Let's see how it goes. I'm going to be kind of doing this pretty live, so apologies for any errors or anything. But let's go ahead and jump into this. So we can go to our browser and type in that URL like from earlier and just make sure we do port 8006, and we should end up here. We can hit proceed. All right, and then our username should be root. Okay, I always forget if it's root or admin. Okay, and we are in. We can see our Proxmox P310 here. We have our local storage, our LVM. Everything looks good. We can see we have, I looked at the swap at first. We have our 32 gigs of RAM. So that's all looking swell. So the first thing we're actually going to do is install TrueNAS. That way we can use our SSDs as storage. We could set this up as local storage, but it's going to be cool to set it up in TrueNAS for a few reasons. So let's go ahead and get started. But before we do that, we actually need to set up IOMMU. And that's so we can do PCIe pass-through with our HBA and our 2.5 gigabit card. So to do that, it's a pretty easy, just little Google search. So we'll just go search Proxmox IOMMU. It'll pull up this link here, and we can follow these instructions. So to do that, I'm actually going to make a new connection here. This should allow SSH by default, I believe. So we'll set up a new thing here in SolarPutty. And create new credentials. Use root and our super secure password. No private key, credentials name, P310 prox. And we'll hit create. Yes. And there we go. So we're now remoted in to our Proxmox server. So we can just copy this because I used ext4. We're using grub. I'm going to do a copy here. Paste. We will edit this. We just need to go into this right here where it says quiet. And we're going to add Intel IOMMU on. I keep doing that. I think we put a comma. Is that correct? Oh, just a space. I'm going to fix this just to make sure. I don't think it should matter if these arguments are in a different order, but just to make sure, I'm going to paste it in this order here. Hit Control X and then enter to save. I'm actually going to do a quick little, okay. And then now we got this. We just need to do update grub. Done. And then I believe we just need to reboot now. So now we'll just wait a few minutes until this kicks back on. See you then. All right, so after a not so quick reboot, we are back up and running, and we should be able to double check that we have IOMMU enabled. So to do that, we can go back to our shell. And we'll just run this quick little command here, which should pull up some stuff and we can see, in fact, IOMMU is enabled. So we'll just go back full screen here. Okay, and back over in Proxmox, we can go to our P310, and we're gonna upload our TrueNAS image. I don't have one for TrueNAS. Okay, so I didn't have one for TrueNAS in that folder, but I just plugged in my Ventoy drive and we can actually see we have this TrueNAS scale. We'll hit open, upload, and give this just a quick minute to upload. I said upload like 6 times in a row there. All right, we're done there. And let's go ahead and create our virtual machine. So I'm gonna go to create VM, P310 prox. NordPass is trying to fill some stuff in for me. That's funny. All right, we can leave this VM ID as 100. That's great. Next, OS, we will use, we're going to use CD, DVD, and our ISO image. Struggling to talk here. And we'll leave this as Linux. Version is great. Hit next. And then for system, I think we leave this all the same. We will do machine here. We want to switch this to Q35. And I believe we can just leave this as CBIOS if I remember correctly. And then disks, we're just going to add one disk here. I'm going to make it 42 gigabytes just so we have a little bit more, but we can leave this as VirtIO. That's all good. Next, CPU, I'm going to go ahead and give this not 4 sockets, 4 cores, and we can leave it as the default KVM64. Next, here we're going to give this 12 gigabytes of memory, and I can never do my math, so we'll do 1024 times 12, 288. Great. And then for network, we're going to do, we're just going to have this Linux bridge, and then we will add in our 2.5 gigabit card as well with PCIe pass-through. So this is all great. We do want to leave this as VirtIO. That's actually really important because this will give us very, very fast access to our TrueNAS storage without having to actually go through a physical network connection. It'll all just be a virtual network connection, and it'll be super fast. So we'll hit next, hit confirm. And now we're going to go up to our, I don't want to do that. Didn't mean to double click. We will go over here to hardware, add PCIe device, and we're going to add our HBA and add our 2.5 gigabit Ethernet. So let's go ahead and add this 2.5 gigabit here, and we will hit advanced PCI Express. We want that because it's going to be, I'm pretty sure you'd be limited with PCI on 2.5 gigabit because I think you can just get gigabit with PCI. Hit add. We'll go to add PCI device, and we'll scroll down until we find our HBA here. We'll click that, and we also want to make sure that this is PCI Express. And then hit add. And then I think we're good to hit start, so we'll go ahead and hit start. Double click on this to bring up our VNC window. Okay, and now we can go to TrueNAS installation, which it did automatically, and we'll hit install/upgrade. And then here we're going to select our install device, which is the virtual hard drive we made with Proxmox. And we don't want to select any of these, so we'll just hit OK. Yes. Super secure password. Okay, and the install is complete. So what we're going to do is hit OK. And then I'm just going to go to shutdown, exit out of this VNC window, go over to our VM, and under hardware, we're going to remove this ISO or this CD DVD drive. I'm just going to hit remove. Yes. And then we'll start this back up. While that was happening, I went ahead and plugged in the 2.5 gigabit card into my ASUSTore 2.5 gigabit switch, which thanks for sending that over, ASUSTore. And that switch connects this server now to my TrueNAS server that I personally use, as well as my desktop, and my ASUSTore Drive Store 4, which I use for some backups. This should let us get a much faster read and write speed to our NAS from my desktop. All right, so back in TrueNAS, we can just run the operating system, which is what would run by default. Awesome, and we are set up. We can see that we got a IP address here from my DHCP server, and we're gonna go ahead and log into this address and then start setting up TrueNAS. I can hit X here. We'll open up a new tab. Once again, we'll skip this because we know it's safe. I'm gonna type in root and then our super secure password. And here we go. We are in TrueNAS. Pretty cool. First thing we're gonna do is go over here to storage. We don't have a pool, so we're gonna create a pool. And we're gonna call this, let's do Prox pool. That's fun. Prox pool. And we're gonna select all 4 of our SSDs here, move them into this data VDEV, and we're gonna set this up in RAID Z, which means one of these SSDs can fail without losing any data. Now we could be safer and go RAID Z2, which means that up to 2 of these could fail, but I'd rather have a little bit more capacity. So yeah, and then we can hit create. This will delete everything off the drives, but that is okay because there's nothing really on them to begin with. Okay, now we have our Prox pool set up here, and we need to add a data set to this. And this is going to be the share that we actually will connect to. So I'm going to call this Prox share. Why not? It's fun. And we should be able to leave basically all of this the same, except we are going to use SMB to connect to this. So we want to make this share type SMB. Hit save. And then now we're going to create a user and this credentials here that we can use to connect to this without having to use the root user. So we'll hit add. I'm going to call this user Haven. Haven, no email, that's fine. Now you might want to actually set up an email here for alerts and things like that, but I'm just going to leave it blank for now. Super secure password, user ID. Yeah, we can do a new primary group. That's fine. We can have a Haven group. We don't need a home directory, so all of this should be able to stay the same. And we will allow sudo, however you want to say it. Don't leave a comment, or I guess leave a comment, whatever, it helps me. So sure, yeah, sudo, whichever one made you more upset, leave a comment below. All right, we'll hit save. And so now we have this Haven user, and we should have a Haven group as well. All right, now a few more things to set up. First of all, I'm going to go ahead and set up our network stuff here. You can see we have, interesting, we only have one interface. Can I add? Odd. I might have to come back to this. I'm not sure why our 2.5 gigabit card isn't showing up. I wonder if it needs to be all functions, possibly. We'll have to reboot for that, so we'll do that. We'll come back to that. We'll come back to the 2.5 gigabit card. For now, we have this. I don't want it to be on this DHCP.238, so I'm going to change this to a static IP, which we'll add down here. So we'll do 192.168.1.32. I'm going to have all my Proxmox stuff in this .30 range here. Hit test changes. We will confirm to test the changes, and we'll do 192.168.1.32. And this should work. We can hit proceed, root, and hit save changes because it does in fact work. So we're on our new IP here, static IP. We will need to make sure that this under this global configuration, I'll need to set up a couple things now. All right, Future Colton here explaining what I'm doing because I didn't do a great job in the moment. So I have Pi-hole that operates as my DNS for my local network, and I just wanted to make sure that when I used my router as the default gateway and the DNS, that it would go ahead and pass that along to my Pi-hole DNS. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just checking that DNS is in fact working. Most likely you can just use your router as the DNS server or name server. All right, I'm getting DNS, that's great. Okay, so this works. Sorry, I'm doing this all on the fly. Just making sure that I'm in fact getting DHCP from my router. It should forward it to my local DNS. I'm running Pi-hole, so yeah. Next, we need to set up a share so we can actually access all of our stuff off of our drive. So we're going to select our prox share. We can leave it called prox share, and we'll hit save. Enable the SMB service. And then here, we're going to change the file system ACL to give our Haven user access. So we're going to go add item. We'll just do group Haven, and we'll say permission type full control, save access control list. And now, if I go to network here, we can do / 192.168.1.31, and then prox share, right? Oh, I'm an idiot. 32. Prox share, and we'll do Haven, our user password. And look at this, we have stuff here. Should be able to copy something over. All right, so I should be able to copy something to it, read from it. Look at that, we're on our NAS. Pretty cool, pretty cool. So we have a NAS up and running. We don't have 2.5 gigabit networking, so that's a bit unfortunate. But yeah, TrueNAS is up and running. Now, some things I would definitely do here would be to set up some data protection. But I'm probably not going to leave this server running way too long after I finish this video, just because I don't really need it right now. I already have everything I'm setting up in this video for the most part that I actually want or need. I already have running. So yeah, after I make these videos, the server's probably going to get, torn back down and sold or something. So I'm not really going to worry too much about this. Normally what I would set up is periodic snapshots to happen so that I have snapshots. So if I delete some files or something, and then I would also set up Cloud Sync and rsync. Yeah, I've used rclone, which I'm pretty sure is what rsync uses, but you'd set up sync to your local backup if you had a local backup, and then if you were going to back up to something like Dropbox or like Backblaze or something like that, you could use this Cloud Sync tasks to do regular backups of that. I'm not going to dig into that on this because it's not really a TrueNAS video, it's more of a Proxmox video. So yeah, we're going to call it here. I might try to mess around a little bit with that 2.5 gigabit networking card, and we'll see if that helps. So let's try just rebooting it after making that one change. Okay, so good news. I clicked that little all functions checkbox, and I guess that was needed for this card. I'm not entirely sure what the all functions thing is, to be totally honest. But yeah, it works now. So if we're back in TrueNAS, we can go over here to this next interface, and we will, I'm just going to call this 2.5, just so I know which one it is. And we're going to set this up as 10.100.100.5. Why not? I know that's open, and that's the subnet I use for my little local 2.5 gig network. And after refreshing, we see that it is up and running. So just out of curiosity, I should be able to go here, go 10.100.100.5, prox, share, hit enter, credentials, and there we go. And now if I were to try to copy something over, let's see. All right, I got a video here. I'm going to paste. Let's just see what happens. Okay. Looks like we might have been limited to, I'm going to copy this to my desktop really quick and just see. Okay, no, yeah, we're getting our full 2.5 gigabit connection there, so all is well. So we have our 2.5 gigabit connection up. We have everything in TrueNAS ready to go, I believe. So, and we're going to make a Debian virtual machine that we can run Portainer, so we can run some Docker containers. It's going to be pretty cool. So let's go ahead and get Debian up and running, and then we'll get Portainer installed, and then we'll start running a couple Docker containers. So to do that, I'm going to upload another ISO here. We're going to hit upload. Yeah, I have Debian 11 here. Going to hit upload. And once again, we'll wait for this to upload. All right, and then basically in the same way we did our last VM, we'll do this. Yeah, so we'll just leave this all the same. Hit next, OS, we're going to select our Debian ISO for our installer. System, Linux, everything can be the same. We'll use all of this the exact same. Yeah, because we're not doing any PCI pass-through, so it should be pretty straightforward. We're going to make this still pretty small. I'm going to leave, ooh, I didn't think this through. yeah, we can actually leave this pretty small. I'm going to leave this at 32 gigabytes because most of our storage for our containers will actually live on our share, on our NAS. So we'll just hit next, CPU. We're only going to give this 2 cores because we're not going to be running a lot of very intensive stuff. Well, yeah, let's give it 4. Why not? Next, and then memory. We're just going to do, would it be 4096? Oh my gosh, no. Wrong place. 4096. Did that fix this? We'll just, yeah. Then network, we'll leave this all the same. We're going to use our bridge here for networking and vert.io. Hit next, confirm. And let's go ahead and get this guy up and running. Okay, so here we'll just go ahead and hit, we'll just do install. I don't need the graphical install. English, United States, American English. Hostname, we'll, let's call it proxdeb. Continue. Domain name, we don't really need this, so we'll just do, keep the same proxdeb.local. Super secure password. Super secure password. Do our user. That also has a super secure password. Do a central time zone for me. And we're just going to use entire disk. This disk here. All files in one partition is fine. Finish and write to disk. All right, we don't have any extra installation media, so we'll hit no. We'll just use United States for these mirrors. Default here is all good. We don't have a proxy, leave blank. All right, we might as well participate in this survey, sure. Okay, here we're gonna disable the Debian desktop environment and GNOME. I'm never quite sure how to pronounce certain things in the Linux community, and I'm always nervous because people are gonna get all mad at me, but we don't want any of these desktop environments, anything like that. We just want an SSH server, and we will go down and hit continue. All right, install the grub bootloader to your primary drive. Yes. All right, installation is complete, so we can hit continue. All right, then over here, back in Proxmox, we want to remove this installation media. I keep right-clicking it. Hit remove. Yes. Or I guess we can actually do, let's see what's going on here. Oh, no, it worked. Okay. So on the next reboot, it should remove that. So Debian should be up and running. So here, I should be able to type in root and our password. And I'm going to run, while I'm root user for just a little bit, I'm going to run apt update. And then I can't type. Apt upgrade -y, which should update all of our, not repositories. Is it repositories? Why am I blanking? Anyway, it's going to make sure we have all of our latest packages. Looks like we're good. And I'm going to do apt install. Oh gosh, I'm scared to say it. sudo, however you guys want to say it. So now I should be able to do, okay, let's see if I can remember my Linux stuff. I'm going to see if I can add Haven to the sudo user. I believe so. Now I should be able to log out, log back in as Haven, and I should be able to run sudo, who am I? Password. Yeah, okay, so I can do stuff as the Haven user as root now, which is cool. Sweet. So the first thing we're going to want to do is be able to actually access our TrueNAS share. And to do that, we're going to need to install a couple things. So I'm going to do sudo apt install CIFS utils, CIFS utils. I'm not entirely sure how to say it, but this will let us easily mount our SMB share. And then we're going to need to create something for this to actually mount to. So I'm going to, I can't talk. Make a directory at /mnt and then /prox share. Forgot to do sudo All right, and then if we change directories into that, we should be good. All right, so we have a directory that we actually want to mount our share to. So the next thing we're going to do is edit our FS tab. I'm not entirely sure which one it is, and I'm sure you guys are going to let me know. But we'll do sudo nano /etc/FS tab. And then down here, we're going to make an entry. So we're going to do // 192.168.1. And we want this to be 32. I almost forgot. And then /prox share. Then we're going to do our mount location. So /mnt/prox share. And then now we're actually going to type in CIFS and then credentials equals. We're going to say /root/credentials. And we'll get to that here in just a second. Oh, SMB credentials. It would have been fine as long as we made the file the same, but, and then I'm going to type 0 space 0. And this all looks good to me. So we're going to hit Command X. Yes. Okay, now we actually need to make that. So we're going to do sudo nano /root/SMB credentials. And then here we're going to type in user equals haven and then password. I'm not going to show you, but I'm going to type in my password here because it is going to be plain text, so I'm not going to show you. But I'm going to type my super secret password here and then hit Control X and save. So now that password is in this credentials file. And when the FS tab runs, which should mount anything that FS tab should run on reboot. And so that should mount any of those things that are in there. So this hopefully should work, and I should be able to test that out. I forgot the command. Just want to double check. Yeah, just sudo and then mount-a. Mound. Good Lord. And then now, if we're lucky, if I don't suck at doing this, we should be able to go to prox share and actually see the files that are in our prox share. Pretty cool, pretty cool. And I'm going to make a directory. Let's do, what would it be? Let's just call it Docker. I got to do sudo, I guess. I probably should, I think I can fix this. Hold on one second. Okay, so we're going to change one thing here. We're going to back in our FS tab. We're going to add credentials, and then we're going to say comma UID equals 1000, which should be our Haven user, and then comma GID, group ID, should be 1000 as well, and then space 0 space 0. Do this, yes, save, and then we'll run sudo mount a again, then lists, okay, and then now, can I do it without running as root? Dang it, okay, we'll just run it as root. I'll figure this stuff all out. I'm not an expert at this, guys. I just have fun. Okay, after a quick reboot, we have our permissions set up correctly, and I was in fact able to make this Docker container here without having to run, or this Docker container, this Docker directory here without having to run as root. So now we actually need to get Docker installed, which is not too difficult. We can just go Docker installation Debian. It should take us to the website here. And they have some fancy little scripts that make things super easy. Where's the script at? Yeah, convenient script. It's fairly easy. We'll just copy paste this. We'll need to install curl first though. Should be pretty easy. We'll just do sudo apt install curl. Now we can copy that. Oh, no we can't. Copy. I keep pulling up. I should just open this in SolarPutty. Why is this not letting me paste? I don't think it lets me paste here. All right, we're going to open this up in SolarPutty here. We'll call this prox deb 192.168.1. Ooh, what is our IP address of this? There we go. We're 192.168.1.250. We could set up a static IP. I'm not going to worry about it right now. 250. New credentials. Super secure password. Credentials name. Proxdeb. Sure. Create. Yes. Okay, this should hopefully be a little easier to see. And now we should be able to, we can paste that curl command in. And then should just be able to run sh, get docker.sh, run it. And this should handle installing all of the Docker stuff for us, which makes it pretty easy. All right, it looks like it finished up. And if we run this hello world image, everything seems to be running well. And we can do sudo docker ps, make sure there's nothing else running, great. But we don't want to have to run sudo for Docker, so we need to add our Haven user to the Docker group. So we can do sudo usermod -a capital G Docker Haven. And then now if we log out, okay, and then now here I should be able to say docker ps. Great, we don't have to do sudo, that's good. So we're going to install Portainer. Once again, Google is your friend, because usually this is pretty straightforward. So first thing we're going to do is make this volume. I'm just going to do exactly as they do it here. So we have our Portainer data volume, and then now we can copy this command here. And I believe this is all good. I don't think we need to change anything. So we'll just copy, paste, and run it. All right, cool. So it seems like this is all installed and ready to go. We can run we can run docker ps here, and we can see our Portainer container is running. So now we should be able to log into the web UI, and all should be well. So let's do that really quick. So we can go over here to full screen. I already forgot the port. I believe it's just 8,000. So we can go to 192.168.1.250, port 8000. Oh, 9443. I'm dumb. Proceed. And here we go. Once again, we'll make a super secure password. Oh no, it's actually making me make a super secure password. We're gonna do super secure password plus a little 2 exclamation points to our secure password. 3 exclamation points to our secure password. Gosh, great user. Okay, we're gonna get started just using this local environment. It's all good. We can click local, and then now we should be able to spool up some containers. So we have Portainers. I don't know what, oh yeah, this is our hello world that we did earlier. It stopped. We can just remove that. Okay, and we're going to add a container, and we're going to add Wireguard, which will be a VPN server that will let us remote into basically anything on our home network while we're somewhere else. So it's pretty cool, just like a private tunnel to get into our home network. So let's install the Wireguard container. Now to do that, I'm gonna go over to linuxserver.io. They have some great containers that they maintain here, and we'll go to the docs and then all the way down to Wireguard. And Wireguard can be a little bit tricky. This container does make it a bit easier. We're gonna skip past a lot of this, and we're going to go to the CLI here. I'm going to just keep this up and Portainer up. Okay, so we're gonna name this container here Wireguard. We can leave this the same. For the image, we're going to copy this here. Always pull the image. Yeah, that will, anytime we restart the container, it'll pull the latest image. Now we have a lot of things over here that would normally be command line arguments, and we're gonna have to do those in the GUI here, but it should be fairly straightforward. We're gonna need to set up a port here. So what we're gonna do is we just need UDP on 51820. So we're going to change to that 51820 and then 51820. Okay, down here for environment variables, this is where we're going to have to do quite a bit. We're going to click add environment variable. And then here we're going to basically copy all of these commands and put them in here. So PUID, and then 1000. GUID 1000 as well. This is the PUID and GUID of our Haven user. Add environment variable TZ. I'm going to do America/Chicago. We're going to leave these two optional guys here blank. Peers, this is important. So you can put a number here, but I believe you can also put a list of, and it'll actually give them names. So that's what I'm going to do for now. I'm going to do add environment variable, peers. And here I should be able to just type in a list like this. So I'm going to say iPhone for my phone, and then MacBook for my MacBook, no spaces or anything. Add environment variable again, go back up. This peer DNS auto, we'll just leave that for now. We might come back and change that here in a bit if we wanted this to use like Pi-hole or something. We'll see if this works automatically. If not, we may have to come change this. Internal subnet, normally you would leave this exactly the same, but because I'm already running Wireguard, just to make sure we don't have any issues there, I'm going to change this internal subnet to 10 dot, let's do 14.13.0. And then allowed IPs, we'll just leave this. All these optional ones we'll just leave as is. And then we have a couple volumes we need to mount. So for this, what we need is this will basically just copy paste, but this config folder, we need to make our own directory for this. So we can go back over here. We'll go to, probably gonna have to do some stuff here, so we might as well just cd to it. Oh, what happened to our proc share? Okay, for some reason it's not mounting on boot, so we may have to figure that out. But we can mount it manually, so whatever. Okay, so we have our Docker folder here. Okay, so what we're gonna do is go make directory, and then Docker, and then we'll call this Wireguard. So if we see what's in our Docker, we see we have this Wireguard folder. So what we're going to do in Portainer now is create these volumes. So map additional volume, and we're going to do a bind mount. So the path on the container would be, do this one first, /lib/modules. Same thing here on our host machine. And then here we need another one. Map additional volumes, bind mount. And for our config, so on the container, it's just going to be /config. But here, we're actually going to do /mnt /proxshare /docker /wireguard. Cool. And then I believe that's everything minus these capabilities. So capabilities here, we need to add netadmin and sysmodule. So netadmin, sysmodule. There we go. So we have all of that. It looks like we have everything we need. We just need to do, okay, yeah. How do we do this guy? So really quick, I realized I had never actually done a syscontrol argument in Portainer. I'd only ever done it in the command line. So I eventually found this spot here where all we have to do is copy paste the name, which is the net_IPv4 ... and give it a value of 1. Okay, let's hit deploy container. Haha, there we go. It's running. That seems good. We can hit the logs. I don't think I had this capitalized. Let's try this again. Replace the container. Hit up the logs. Okay. Now, because we had that peer variable there, it should be in server mode, so it's going to generate peers, and we have some QR codes here. Everything looks to be good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually hop on my phone really quick, and I'm going to hop on the Wireguard app. Okay, so here on the Wireguard app, I'm actually going to disable Wi-Fi really quick. So we for sure know I'm just on cellular, and I'm going to add a connection here from QR code. Now I guess I actually kind of have to figure out how to get this QR code to where I can see it. I'm curious if there we go. Okay, so if I'm here in PuTTY, it'll actually render out this QR code. I'm going to delete all of this, by the way, so don't try to get cheeky or anything like that on me. But I can go on my phone now, scan this QR code, and I'm going to name this tunnel Prox. Why not? Hit save. And then now if I open this, look at the settings here. Oh my gosh, I'm an idiot. I forgot we have to do port forwarding. This video is getting a lot longer than I expected. Okay, in my router, I have, it's wherever your port forwarding is. I'm not there, I'm here. All right, so in your router, wherever port forwarding is, you'll have to go to that and do some port forwarding. You can Google how to do port forwarding. I'm not going to talk about it too much. I'm just going to do it. So I already have some stuff port forwarded that I'll have blurred out, I imagine. I'm going to hit add, name, call this Prox Wireguard, interface WAN, external port. Ooh. Okay, so what happened here was that I forgot to change the port for our Wireguard container because I'm already using Wireguard on a different server and they're both using the same 51820 port. So what I should have done was change the port on our container, but what I do instead is I just go ahead and switch my port forwarding to our Proxmox server rather than my original Wireguard server. I also messed up and forgot to set up any sort of dynamic DNS or anything for Wireguard, so it just uses my public IP, which is dynamic and is going to change. So I'll be setting up something in the second part of this video for dynamic DNS so that we can connect to our Wireguard server using a domain name rather than just a public IP address. Okay, back on my phone, I'm going to restart this tunnel. There we go. We see data received, data sent, latest handshake. Now if I were to actually try to go to 192.168.1.32, which is our TrueNAS, I am actually able to access TrueNAS over my cellular connection right now. I could even type in a roost. What was that? I hate typing on phones. And then I'm going to blur this out. Super secure password. And we're in. We can actually see... TrueNAS is not like phones, but we can actually see I'm on cellular right now. I can prove it, but I'm on my Wireguard VPN. Our Wireguard VPN is working. I can access anything on my home network from my phone. All right, well, I think for now that's about it. We have, this video has been going on way too long. I'm gonna have to do a lot of editing, but we have TrueNAS up and running in a VM, and we also have Debian with Portainer and Wireguard, so we can actually access this server from, or any server on our home network from anywhere, which is pretty cool. So yeah, back to much more better produced and scripted Colton to finish off this video. Hopefully you enjoyed this video and maybe even learned something from it. If you're wanting to check out the second video in this series, make sure to get subscribed so you don't miss out. Also, if you want to help support the things I do here on the Hardware Haven channel, make sure to give this video a like, and maybe even check out my Patreon. Thanks again to NordPass for sponsoring this video, and don't forget to click the link down in the description to get an exclusive NordPass deal, plus 4 additional months for free. That's about it for this one though, so as always, thank you so much for watching, stay curious, and I really hope to see you in the next one.